Hi, thanks for joining us. I'm Sonica. This is my husband, Christian. We are the founders of LoveWorks and the LoveWorks solution.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. Today, we want to share with you about how to revive your intimacy when you haven't been intimate for a very long time. Maybe it's been months, maybe it's been years, maybe it's even been decades since you've had physical intimacy and affection.
You know, we want to just say it's really easy to compare ourselves to other people and think everybody else is having sex too. And yet it's much more common than you realize. And there's lots of reasons why we quit having sex. Sometimes it's a certain event, something happened that we just didn't have sex again after that. More often, it's just a slow decline, and at some point, it's just been a long time.
Yeah, and just trust us when we say we have coached literally thousands of couples, and it is very, very, very common that it's just the progression of life. When there's always a honeymoon phase to any marriage or relationship in the beginning, when we're just all hot for each other all the time. And that naturally abates over time. And as we stack on more responsibilities and kids and houses and mortgages and yada, 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 it's just very common that sex and intimacy falls to the bottom of the to do list and we just kind of forget about it.
And the longer we go without being sexual and intimate, the more awkward and uncomfortable it can be to get it started.
Yeah, and if something has happened, it might, you might not even feel safe if you've had real bad arguments over sex, or maybe you've gotten into calling each other names or remarked unhealthily about each other's bodies. You might not feel safe to get it started again.
So, we want to give you some ideas here in this little talk about things you can do to get your intimacy going again in a safe, loving way.
Yeah.
And one of the first things we would recommend is, first of all, to just declare to your partner that sex matters to you, that it's important, that you want to heal it, you want to revive it, and you're committed to doing whatever it takes to open up that part of your relationship again.
Yeah, and include in that why it's important to you. Like, what does that give to you when you had or when you imagine having wonderful lovemaking and sex and intimacy? It's sometimes we just think about our partner. Oh, she just wants me for my body, or all he cares about is getting off. I promise you, like I said, we have talked to thousands of couples about this in our sex workshops and in coaching. And there's always much, much deeper and richer and more meaningful motivations behind our desire to revive sex and intimacy.
You know, I gotta say, I've been moved to tears sometimes to hear men talk about what sex gives them. That is so poetic and spiritual. It is way more than just a physical interaction. And same for women. A lot of us, when we are sexual, we feel much more vibrant, more connected with ourselves. We feel more in tune with each other, more competent and able to, and happier, more competent, more powerful in how we interact in the world. There's a lot that sex gives us, and it can be really useful to, in the beginning stages of just declaring how important it is, why it's important, and why you want to move together to create some changes.
Yeah, for sure. And why it's important also to make a commitment to it and just state out loud, yeah, this is important to me, is that, often we hope that the natural desire is just going to come back, right? Where we just want to jump each other's bones at the same time, and then we're good to go. But often it doesn't, the
Takes a little
natural
bit.
want doesn't show up like that. So we need kind of some more willful commitment behind it to get it started.
One of the, after you've committed to it being important, then you want to just start setting a stage and a foundation from which you want to increase your intimacy with each other physically. And that starts by increasing your connection and intimacy emotionally. And one of the best ways to do that is to express love and appreciation for your partner.
Yeah, I know it sounds simple, but it so works. This is like absolute basics, and it really works to just create a mood of appreciation, of acknowledgments, of, telling each other, you look nice. I appreciate you. Thank you for anything and everything. I really like it when you hold my hand. Thank you for doing that. just a mood of appreciation.
I'll tell you, appreciation, acknowledgement, any expression of love just has your partner want to connect more with you. They feel more seen, they feel softer, more relaxed. They're going to more want to open up their bodies to you and their emotions to you if they feel like you're really loving who they are.
Yeah, and if you're in a situation where you haven't been intimate for many years, you can probably relate to having landed in that place where you get mad at each other for not having had sex and intimacy. You might end up saying, well, you're just not attracted to me anymore. Why don't you ever want to have sex with me anymore? Or, oh my God. And that might be natural frustration, but talking like that is not going to produce any kind of intimacy or sex, I promise you.
I know, so it's kind of counterintuitive sometimes if you haven't been intimate for a long time, but I'll tell you, just 1, 2, 3 appreciations a day can make a huge difference. Another thing we recommend is to begin spending quality time together. There's a way when we've been in relationship for a long time, it's easy for us to just move with each other like roommates, handling the logistics and the schedules of taking care of the house and going to work, taking care of the kids.
Yeah, it's like you've of course heard that expression. That's why there is such an expression about being, two boats on the oceans or two islands. It's like we exist in the same household, but we're not really together. We're not romantic partners. We're just business partners.
And so there's lots of different ways to spend quality time, doing something you love together. I mean, Christian and I will feel really connected just going out and hitting the badminton, playing badminton for a little bit or doing a little bit of bocce ball on our very rocky lawn, like just any kind of anything sharing with each other, or over a meal, just asking each other questions that help you both go deeper with each other. And we've done a bunch of podcasts about how do you just create more intimacy through sharing. So the more you do that, again, the more oxytocin actually gets produced between you when you share with each other meaningfully and you spend more quality time together.
Yeah, the next thing we want to recommend you is that you clear the space. This is one of those things you might need some professional like coaches like us or a local therapist to help you facilitate a conversation like this. But to clear the space means sometimes when we haven't had sex or been intimate for a long time, it's because something happened that we feel hurt about or mad about or scared about. And it's really important to kind of, clear the space, make a fresh space for us to move forward. So,
well, I was just going to say we've had a lot of couples experience breakthroughs by both of them just taking turns sharing, I want to offer an apology for this. I'm really sorry I said this. I'm really sorry I did that. I can see that when I did that, the impact on you was, and the impact on our sex was. And I'm really sorry about that. And I am committed going forward to moving differently with you around that. When we can take responsibility for things that we've done and declare our willingness to do it differently going forward and really seeing the impact and owning the impact that had on the other person, that can go a long ways to healing whatever it was that happened and creating safe space for being more willing to try opening up again and being more risky with each other in sharing intimacy.
Yeah, sometimes we always, when we do our sex workshop, it's called The Possibilities of Sex. This part about clearing the space, offering apologies, forgiveness is always part of the process that we guide couples through. Because, sometimes if I've been hurt, like we kind of hold that hurt in our bodies. It's like I close down my heart and my body, and this kind of forgiveness, apologies is required for my whole body, my heart, to open up again.
One of my favorite ways to open again, which we totally recommend, is use your imagination to take you back to the time when you fell in love with your partner so you can reactivate your incredible love and attraction for your partner.
I know for example, remember, I won't give you too much detail here since it's a public space. I remember once we were in this hotel room and the bathroom had mirrors on all the walls and we could be in the bathtub and do stuff, and it was just, wow, man, it was hot and fun, and I'll always remember that. And just thinking about it puts me in a great space. Just I want to be closer to you.
I know. I just remember when we first fell in love and how much I wanted you, and I can just recreate that experience. So you can do that as well, like, to kind of take on that, seeing each other with fresh eyes again in this moment, like you did at the beginning of a relationship.
Yeah. Next thing we want to recommend you, which is something that have helped a lot of couples that we have coached to get started again in a safe way, is you start with, sometimes we call it pleasure sessions, but in any case, it's like you fully...
Safe, non-sexual physical touch, fully clothed.
Yes, you start carefully because, let's say you haven't had sex or been intimate physically for 10 years, you might not be ready to jump straight in and let's go have intercourse. So we start much more cautiously. I remember one couple we had in our sex workshop, they had slept in separate rooms for years. They hadn't been intimate for years. And one of the ways they started is we guided them through how to set up a pleasure session, we called it, where every Saturday morning they would meet between their two rooms. They would sit in two chairs next to each other and they would just hold hands. And they would begin to feel into and be really present to how the touch of the other person's hands felt on their hands. That's how they got started.
And it's really important when you start reintroducing physical touch is to make sure you set it up. A lot of times we kind of quit, especially if we have hurts or, in the space around sex and intimacy. Like, we don't even want to initiate a passionate kiss or a hug because we're afraid of where it's going to lead. And so we end up not doing anything. So it's really useful to set it up ahead of time. Like, hey, we're going to start introducing non-sexual physical touch, and we want to create safe space and not pressure ourselves to have it go anywhere. So we're just going to set it up like a little exercise, or we're going to open ourselves up to making these moves. And you can even ahead of time just say to your partner, hey, I want to start hugging again, and I just want to also, not have it lead to anything right now.
Yeah, we're just going to hug.
That's
all we're going to do right now.
So yeah, you can set it up to be able to move slowly so your partner knows where you're coming from, and you're setting the stage to be able to move into that kind of contact with each other.
And a great general idea for getting started is you just take it half a step further every time. So let's say you haven't had sex, but you have been hugging. Now when you go hug, take it half a step further. You just hug a little deeper. You linger in the hug a little bit longer while you make eye contact, and you like really melt into the hug, for example. That's one way to take it half a step further.
Yeah, or you just stay in eye contact a little bit longer. Or when you kiss goodnight or you kiss goodbye, you just kiss on the lips, or maybe you linger there a little bit longer. You hug your partner for no reason at all when they're working in the kitchen. Mm-hmm. You maybe snuggle up to your partner while you're watching TV together. Or, you just kind of bump hips or flirt with each other a little bit.
We still do this to this day. Sonic and I, we have in our house, we have this long, skinny hallway. And when we pass each other in the hallway, I'll just stop Sonica right there, give her a big hug and a big kiss. And we'll just stay here for 10 seconds. And that's it. Then we'll go about our business. But it has a wonderful, intimate, sensual little hit.
You can also invite your partner to take a shower or a bath with you, or if you have a hot tub, you could take a hot tub together. You can also just, if you don't sleep together, go sleep with each other, hold each other.
Sorry.
Just sleep together, hold each other.
I know, and I know some people don't sleep together because one of you snore or whatever. If that's the case, go to bed together and just lay and cuddle up for 20 minutes. And then you can go to each other's, your respective beds. Or in the morning, come together and just take 10 minutes to cuddle up, lay close to each other, and then go about your day.
And this next piece is sometimes a little controversial, but we have personally found a lot of value in it, and that is just do it. It is awkward and it is uncomfortable when you haven't been sexual for a long time. And when you can use your imagination to go back to that time when you felt in love and you just start. And it's a little bit like riding a bike. You're going to remember, it's going to come back. Your bodies are likely to get into it. And, sometimes we have the experience, like we know we need to make love. We know it's been too long. We're out of sync. It would be really good for us, really good for our bodies, really good for our relationship. And neither one of us really feels like it.
We're not in the mood right now.
And we just start. And when we do that, like the discomfort gradually falls away, the awkwardness falls away, and we get ourselves back into it. And sometimes when we're waiting until we feel like it and we want to, and all, I kind of equate sometimes this whole being sexual with exercise, like it's good for me. I don't always feel like it, but I always love it after I do it. I love it when I'm in the middle of it. I love it afterwards. Like I feel rejuvenated and alive. And it actually helps me get over the hump of any discomfort or awkwardness or just shifting gears, right?
Yeah.
From busyness of life into body time.
Yeah, and just to make it very clear, what we just said, that does not mean you're giving up your free will to say yes or no to sex. By no means. We choose to say yes to do it often, even when we don't want to. And if I say to Sonica, hey, want to make love, or let's get started, or I just start touching or kissing on her, if she really doesn't want to, we're not going to go any further. She can either communicate that by saying so, or we know each other well enough that our bodies can communicate that to each other, and we of course respect that.
Yeah, so really it's just all we're saying is don't use the discomfort to stop you from ever starting.
Yeah, because you might, if you haven't done it for a while, it's always going to feel uncomfortable to begin with.
You're right. So just bring it with you.
Yeah.
And lastly, really get support if you need it. Sometimes it does take something to sort of get us over the hump and getting ideas, or if there's also something that is really hurtful in the past that you feel like you really need to work through before you can create that space, reach out and get support.
Yeah, and I want to say we've seen just firsthand in our own programs and workshops and coaching so many couples who have come in and literally haven't touched each other for 5 years, 10 years, and in the course of some coaching sessions or just one weekend workshop, literally go home, like on the Saturday of a workshop that started on Saturday morning, go home and make wonderful love and like have it restarted, and also keep it up. It's not just during, the nights they have together on Saturday after the workshop, but keeping it up. It just needed this safe space and a bit of facilitation to get it started again.
Yeah, I remember one woman who came to our possibilities of sex workshop. When I checked in with her at the start, she's like, I'm terrified.
Yeah.
And she was one of those where they had sex on Saturday night. And since then, they have had every Sunday, they have their afternoon.
They've mapped out a little space for themselves.
And it has made all the difference in their relationship. So be gentle with yourself. It definitely takes something to get, kind of reignite this whole sex thing when it hasn't been there for a long time. But it is totally possible. You totally can shift that around. It just takes commitment and taking little steps diligently back towards each other, step by step over time.
You can do it.
All right. Have fun with that. We look forward to supporting you if you need any. Thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah.